Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Is someone in the NFC North ready to tame the Lions? Can Detroit go from the hunter to the hunted this season? Also, what do the Vikings do now that JJ McCarthy needs knee surgery? And the Yankees, they just cannot lose to the White Sox, let alone by 10.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Next up in our series of division winners who might be a little nervous about their division this year, the Detroit Lions. We go from the AFC North yesterday to the NFC North today. These two divisions are expected to be absolute nightmares for everyone involved except the fans. It's going to be a blast for us to watch, always a blast for us to watch. Our pal Matt Derry from Locked On Lions, he joins me now. And Matt, you and I have talked on air and off air about this division already this offseason. I can't wait to do it in our crossover show. But how nervous are you that this division is not going to go the way that it did last year?
Oh, Pete, you love this. You're eating this up with a spoon, my friend.
My producers came up with this. This was not my idea, but yes, I am enjoying it.
Eating it up with no crumbs. Look, I mean, nervous. Sure. I mean, yeah, like you said, this division's a slobber knocker. I mean, I know with this news on JJ McCarthy, that's not going to help the Vikings' chances, but that's still a very good defense and a very good defensive coordinator. The Bears or the NFL's hotness. Might as well just crown them right now, right, Pete?
Yeah.
But no, it's going to come down to Detroit and Green Bay, and the Packers are a good football team. Are they as good as they showed at the end of last year? Or are they more like the team from the beginning of last year? Who knows? But I think with the Lions, what I really like is the focus. No one's got a big head. They have not added anybody onto the roster that's a problem in the locker room. I talked about it on my show the other day. There's not a lot of jobs to be won. It's boring, but that's a good thing because the guys all kind of staying in their lanes and are feeling pretty good about where they're at. And I still think they are going to win the division, but absolutely these games are not going to be easy, and the schedule's not easy either, playing a first place schedule now.
Yeah, our friends at FanDuel have the Lions at plus 130, the Packers at plus 200. So we're talking about plus odds for the Lions to win this division. That means FanDuel sees this as very much an open competition. I asked Kevin Ostreicher, our pal from Locked On Ravens, this yesterday. Who is the player? If you still think the Lions are the favorite, who is the player that you think separates the Lions from, say, the rest of this division, whether it's the Packers or anyone else? And just say, this is the key guy that makes me believe, hey, this is the team to beat.
Well, I still think the Lions win up front. I believe the player is five guys, and that's that offensive line. I think that group with Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell really kind of anchoring it. Taylor Decker, a new contract. The addition of you mentioned Kevin Ostreicher, knowing Kevin Zeitler very well. Yeah. He's now at right guard, and Graham Glasgow at left guard. They just kind of control everything. When the Lions in the past could not put teams away in fourth quarters and gagged away games, because they didn't have that road grading O-line to run Montgomery and Gibbs and work the clock, then take a knee and be done. They didn't have that. Now they do. I mean, they have arguably, PFF has them as the top O-line in the league. And I think that group, as long as they stay healthy, is really the key. Because, again, Jared Goff does not have the mobility that some of these other quarterbacks, let's say your guy, Jordan Love, or even Caleb Williams have. So I think it's that group up front that does it. And if they stay healthy, I think gives them the best chance to win the division again.
What's the thing about the Detroit Lions that would have you the most nervous?
Well, I would have said last year's secondary. Now I think it's much improved. I still am worried about that opposite edge from Aiden Hutchinson. Mm-hmm. Where are they going to get pressure? Will Marcus Davenport stay healthy enough to play and get to the quarterback? Look, he's on a one-year deal. It's a prove-it year for him. Will James Houston sneak in, or Josh Pascal and be that other edge guy? I still worry a little bit about the pass rush if Hutchinson is neutralized. I love the addition of DJ Reader. He will help, but I don't know if he's going to play in week one. I don't know if he's going to be healthy enough to face the Rams on that Sunday night. So that's probably where I would go with it. But I'm not worried about complacency. Look, the number 4 wide receiver is up in the air, but who cares? I mean, they've got enough weapons on them.
You're that confident in Jameson Williams taking that step?
Well, I think he's the number 2, and I would say I'm a little bit worried about him because I think there's some games you go, wow, he looks great, and others the ball hits him in the face mask. But with St. Brown, he kind of just calms it all down, and you got Laporta and a really deep group of tight ends, so I think they're going to be okay.
Stay up to date on the Detroit Lions all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Lions on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, where do the Vikings go from here? Before we answer that, Matt LaFleur, who wants to throw up. No football, no NBA, no problem with FanDuel. With baseball, WNBA back soon, there's plenty to dive into over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. Is there any point in betting on anyone in the AFC West besides the Chiefs? FanDuel has the Chiefs -230 to win the AFC West. If you want to bet on another team in that division, the Chargers are the next closest to the Chiefs at +350. The Raiders, they're 9-1. And the Broncos, well, they're just happy to be here. So what are you waiting for? Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Matt LaFleur is tired of hearing questions about who the Packers' #1 receiver is.
I get I want to vomit every time I hear #1 receiver, to be honest with you. It drives me crazy. That's something that you guys talk about. I feel like we got a bunch of them. So, but I think they're all kind of, I think the beauty of them is they're all capable of doing many things, which gives us a lot of versatility from an offensive perspective in terms of how we use these guys and deploy their talents. I think, especially those I would say top 4 guys, they're all capable of being a #1 in some capacity, and it's just how do we want to attack somebody and where do we want to put those guys, and it allows us, who's going to get the ball? I don't know. It could change on a week-to-week basis. We saw it last year. And then we have Bo Belton come in and be our first 100-yard receiver versus Minnesota. So I think it just, again, it frees us up in terms of just from an offensive standpoint and how we attack people.
Aaron Rodgers was asked about Hassan Reddick and towed the line pretty well on the answer.
Well, there's always new things in the league that, I've been around 20 years. I've seen a lot of stuff. I think as players, we always first try and side with the player because you know what it's like to be a player. I've played against Hassan before. I don't know him well. I've had a couple messages with him, I believe, when he got traded. Obviously, we'd love for him to be here, but we don't judge him for trying to do what's best for him. I think what's best for him is to be a Jet because this is going to be a fun ride, but he's got to make the best decision for him and his family.
Do championships add to your franchise value? Recent championships, I mean. If you ask the Dallas Cowboys, well, they may say no. They became the first professional franchise to cross the $10 billion mark in value. Of course, they haven't hoisted a Lombardi trophy in a very long time, like 30 years. Their quarterback wasn't even in preschool the last time it happened. According to Sportico, the Cowboys topped the list of NFL teams in terms of valuation, and 4 NFC teams are in the top 5. The Rams, the Giants, the Patriots, and the 49ers joined Dallas in that group. And the Reds hosted the Cardinals as Hunter Green looked to build his NL Cy Young resume.
If you're looking for Cy Young, Hunter Green is him. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and Hunter Green was phenomenal. Another 7-inning start. He has 7 of those, by the way, this year. Gives up a solo home run, but that is it. The Cardinals had nothing for him. Only a couple of hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Beautiful day on the mound for Hunter Green. He continues to enter his name in that Cy Young consideration. Look, I get it. Chris Sale's had a nice year. Tyler Glasnow's had a nice year. Zach Wheeler, whatever. Hunter Green deserves to be right up there with all of them. He has had a phenomenal season. And hey, a series win by the Reds over the stinking Cardinals. Well, we got a lot to talk about. Make sure you join us on the next Locked On Reds podcast.
The Vikings got a chance to see their quarterback of the future over the weekend, and now they're going to have to wait quite a while to see him again. Reports that JJ McCarthy has a torn meniscus and is going to require surgery. Timeline still to be determined, but it looks like Sam Darnold will open the season as the starting quarterback. Luke Braun from Locked On Vikings, always the starting quarterback over there. Luke, how does this change the way you view the Vikings going into this season, if at all? Because I know that there was a thought that this was always going to be the case where Sam Darnold was going to open the season as QB1.
Yeah, okay, so this is a question I only get from national people. Sam Darnold was always going to start the season as week one. That was basically decided. I mean, they formally gave everybody a chance to compete and blah, 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 right? But it's pretty clear that Sam Darnold was the best quarterback in the building. JJ McCarthy had mechanical stuff he was working through. He's still learning the playbook. He's a rookie. Like, yeah, of course, he's not going to be the full version of himself. When he realizes that, he would go in, right? Now, we were all talking about that maybe week 6, week 7 or whatever. Now that changes, right? So he looked good in the preseason. Sam Darnold looked better. I think he put more distance between him and McCarthy. But he looked good in the preseason. We were all excited about it. Now we get this news. So now we have to wait. And God knows nothing Vikings fans hate more than having to wait a little bit longer than they thought to get something exciting. Whether it's a short term or a long term thing depends on what they find when they actually have the surgery. When they put him under the knife, it depends on how much they find, how much damage they find. It could be season. It could be not season. It could just be like, a little bit of it. But either way, what this does is it delays his development, which is the part that I think matters the most. Mm-hmm. That sucks, that it puts a big stop into his mechanical development. And over time, when rust collects, old habits come back. And so part of knocking off the rust is going to be re-breaking old habits that we were kind of in the middle of breaking. That really sucks. But in terms of the 2024 season, man, this is never going to be a serious season. This was going to be a Sam Darnold year, or at least a partial Sam Darnold year that then you're 2-6 and the rookie's coming in for cleanup duty. Like this was never going to be the year. This was transition. This is transition out of Kirk Cousins. I think they did a lot of, in the last 2 years, they did their competitive rebuild thing where, hey, we have Kirk Cousins. We want this team to be, a team you got to take seriously every week. But at the same time, we're swapping out Eric Kendricks for Blake Cashman. We're swapping out some of these older players, getting newer guys in the building, getting fresh blood, younger players. And so the roster is closer to complete than you would think, than where the Patriots are at, who are also in a long, at the beginning of a long-term rebuild. And so you look at next year, JJ's the guy. We got one more off season to maybe shore up the defense a little bit, and then we can start talking about the Vikings as a serious team again.
There is some excitement among a certain group of NFL watchers, media people who have always sort of been secret Sam Darnold heads and been like, hey, he just needs a chance.
and the silent majority.
There is this. Well, there's look, you and
they're coming out. They can talk about it without getting canceled now.
You and I know the people on Twitter who I'm talking about here. And so look, Kevin O'Connell is a really good offensive coach. This is a really good offensive team from an offensive line and a skill, certainly pass catcher standpoint. Aaron Jones, we'll see what he can give them, given the amount of tread on his tires already and the injury issues. But there is a case here that Sam Darnold can exceed at least the performance that he's given in the NFL to date in this set of circumstances.
Yeah, I think his time with Kyle Shanahan did a lot for him. I think he learned a lot in San Francisco, and it's a very similar world in Minnesota schematically. He does look like a different, the seeing ghosts Jets guy that threw 5 interceptions. We have a different kind of, a little bit more of a grown up Sam Darnold. What that means, whether that's a Geno Smith, oh my God, this guy's actually good, maybe they make the playoffs kind of thing, or whether it's just
still is only 27 years old.
Yeah. Just don't be embarrassing. That's the goal right now is you can be a 4-13 team, but be in the games, be something reasonable to watch. And if we have to wait till next year for JJ McCarthy, so be it. We're kind of in the middle of a transition anyways. This wasn't going to be the year. So I guess if we're going to happen, it sucks that it interrupts his development.
Is this now, if you're a Vikings fan, are you like, okay, now 4-13 is actually the desirable outcome here?
I'll never be like that. There are a lot of quitters in the Vikings fan base. A lot of people will be like, okay, I'm going to root for them to lose all the time. I think those people are losers and suck.
Stay up to date on the Minnesota Vikings all year by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Vikings on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Yankees suffered the worst loss of the season on Monday, and it's not close. The Major League Baseball season is a marathon, and freaking out over one loss here may seem a bit dramatic, unless you're the New York freaking Yankees and you just lost by 10 to the White Sox. Just asked our Locked On Yankees host, Stacey Getsoulias and Brian McKeon.
Woo, it's pathetic. So can we say this is the worst loss of the season?
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
By far. I guess if the Yankees have to win a World Series this year, the championship DVD has to include a loss to the worst team in the history of the sport.
Right.
The 29th win for the White Sox, the first time they've won a game on a Monday. The first time they've won a game scoring more than 6 runs. I mean, I can't imagine. The Yankees had 9 hits, 11 walks. Not that they surrendered. They walked 11 times and lost. Talk about
they left a small village on base. Yeah, they lost.
How many times they left the bases? 4.
It would be different if it were almost any other team. It would be different if you were a team that had aspirations this season of getting to the World Series, winning a title, and it looked like you actually had a chance to do it. You're leading your division, you're riding high, you're feeling good, you got the best run differential in the American League. If this were the Orioles, we probably wouldn't think twice about it. If this were the Astros, we'd probably make fun of it. Now, let's be honest, baseball fans are making fun of the Yankees. If this were the Guardians, it would hardly even register. But it's the Yankees. And when the expectations are at a certain level, and they are this year, a run differential over 100 to the positive, the best run differential in baseball, and they got their clocks cleaned by the worst team of what, the last 10 years? A 29-92 team. You know, the it just means more. Was that the SEC slogan? It just means more that this happened to the Yankees. And let's be honest, if you're a baseball fan and you're not a Yankees fan, it just makes it a little funnier. And finally, Jim Harbaugh is taking the high road, but of course, in a way that only Jim Harbaugh can. Michigan head coach Sherrone Brown said that Harbaugh called and told him he would not be in attendance for the August 31st home opener, where they will celebrate the national championship. Harbaugh said he wanted to remain focused on his first Chargers team and not take away from the 2024 Wolverines squad. I'm sure it also has nothing to do with the NCAA's ruling on him and basically telling him if he ever wants to coach college football again, he's got to sit out. I'm sure it has nothing at all to do with that. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up on the next Locked On Sports Today, will the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East for the 5th straight season? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.